Hey everybody, this past weekend my fiancée Celine and I took a short trip up to the family cabin, so I figured we'd start the video with a few short clips from there. But please remember, anything you see during this video is not meant for an instructional, but as entertainment purposes only. Your safety is your responsibility. And as you can see, the cabin we're driving to is of a more secluded nature.
So we're just out at the cabin. I'm up on the roof because I got to try to fix that satellite down there. And I just thought I'd give you a view here. Not many cabins left out here. A flood years ago kind of took a lot of people out and nobody seems to be rebuilding. It's too bad. It's a beautiful place to go fishing and kayaking and swimming. They got lots of tree work to do here. Hope I'm not making everybody dizzy. I'm trying to do this nice and slow and smooth. I'm new at this.
This dead birch we're cutting down right now is actually going to be the source of the material for this week's project.
Nice and ripe. A lot of times you'll find these black poplars will be rotten in the center. So if you cut them at the right dimensions, you can make yourself a nice rustic planter set.
So we're back in the shop now, and I'm just mounting up a piece of that birch tree between centers, and I'm just using my roughing gouge to rough it out, and then I'm going to form a tenon, and I'm going to use my skew chisel afterwards to really clean that tenon up because this wood's a little bit soft, so I want to make sure that those jaws have as good a seating as possible. So it looks like I got pretty lucky with this birch tree. It's got some good spalting running throughout, but it's not so far gone that it's going to be, difficult to turn or require a bunch of stabilizing or whatever. So let's start by shaping out the cup, and so we'll know what we have to aim for when we're hollowing the inside. So, got the lathe running up at about 1500 RPM. The little bit of spalting has it so it's not completely balanced, but good to turn. I want to create kind of a closed lip goblet, so I'm just taking my time and sneaking up on that shape. If I go too quickly, I might lose the amount of wood I need to create that shape. Like they say, you can only take wood away, but you can't put it back on. Okay, let's move on to hollowing. Look at that figure popping out though. Ooh, getting excited now. Okay, like usual, I'm going to start out the hollowing with a spindle gouge. So I got the tool rest set to dead center, and we're going to go with about 1500 RPM on the lathe speed. So let's do it like we usually do. We'll feed it in dead center like a drill bit, Just a little bit. I'm hanging out about 9 1/4 inches out of that chuck, so we can't go too aggressive with these cuts. So, like I said, in like a drill bit, close off the tool, and swing the handle away. Then you can take a nice, smooth, bevel-supported cut. Stopping short of your final thickness. So, straight in on center, close the tool off and swing it away from you. Now that bevel is riding that freshly cut wood. And it just comes off the tool like butter. In order to work with the grain while end grain hollowing, you have to work from the center of the spindle out, or from the smaller diameter to the larger diameter. So I'm using pull cuts in the bottom of the cup and push cuts from the top of the cup. I'm just switching over to a round nose scraper to clean up and refine the bottom, but I've set the tool rest now so that the cutting edge is above center. This way, if the tool wants to get grabbed by the wood, it'll fall to air. If it's below center, it'll fall to more wood and you'll get a heck of a catch. So let's take some nice, light little cuts, and then we'll switch over to a shear scrape. And as I'm doing this, I'm keeping the profile of the cup in mind, so I know that I'm not going to go too far on the bottom or have the wrong curve to meet the sides. This stuff all just comes with practice for all you beginners out there. If you haven't turned many goblets, just start with the simple shapes and more of an open mouth. The shape of the bottom is all refined. Now I'm just going to clean up the surface by switching to more of a shear scraping. So I'm going to bring that angle up a little bit to about a 45 degrees, and it'll take less of a cut as I go. Kind of think of it as if you hit a speed bump in a car with both tires, it really lifts you up. But if you hit it on an angle, it kind of lifts less at one time. I know, it's a terrible analogy, but we're going to give it a shot. And it works. You might get a little bit longer curly shavings too, that's a good sign. See, if you get this rather than this, you know that you're getting good clean cuts. It's not crumbling the wood, it's peeling it right off. Slicing it right off. Remember to take your time hollowing though, because like Anthony Harris says, it's rule number 2 of wood turning. You can't make the inside bigger than the outside. I was able to eliminate most of the torn grain in the bottom with all the shear scraping, but it was pretty tricky to get rid of all of it with this spalted birch, which is a little bit punky. But that's why they made lower grit sandpaper, aka the 100 or 150 grit gouge. But I'm going to finish shaping the outside of the cup first, so then I can sand both the inside and outside at the same time. Okay, we have a really sharp tool again. I've brought up the tailstock with a cone center with a light little bit of pressure just to eliminate any vibrations. So let's finish shaping the outside of the cup. Just shy of 1600 RPM still. Just going to check for wall thickness, and it's feeling pretty darn good. I have just a little bit of room to work in the very bottom. I usually like to form a little bead at the base of the cup just for some extra strength and support, and it kind of breaks up the transition between it and the stem. It's looking a little bit too bulky still. Sneak up on those shapes. Okay, that's good. Let's move on to sanding. Before sanding, I thought I'd show you that we've got a good even wall thickness throughout the cup, which may not be very visual, but you can kind of feel it when you pick it up. So it's good to try to work towards that goal. To sand this piece, I'm going to start out with 150 grit before moving on to the normal grits of 220, 320, and 400. And again, you'll see I'm using long narrow strips so I can easily reach inside and follow the contours of the outside shapes and details. Sanding is all complete, so let's move on to shaping the stem and the foot. I've brought the tailstock back up for some extra support. I like to use the tailstock as much as I can, and I've just used a piece of shop towel here to protect the sanded surface of the cup. So we're going to just start the lathe back up at about 1600 RPM, and I'm just going to start out with the bull gouge just to hog out a little bit of wood, and then we'll continue shaping with the spindle gouge. You can see why I want to use this to hog away the wood. It's actually looking kind of neat. That's enough for now. This could actually make an interesting shape for a stem, but I'm not going to go and approach that right now. I'm going to just stick with my initial instincts and continue on with a smooth, elongated shape. Okay, we can now move on to sanding. I don't have any torn out grain really, so I'm just going to use 220, 320, and 400 grit, and I'll do the sanding off camera again. So all the sanding's complete, and what I did is I let the goblet sit for a while because this piece of wood was still fairly green when I first turned it. And I usually like to let my projects get below 7% moisture content before applying a finish, but this is pretty much close enough because it feels pretty dry to the touch. So I'm just going to follow the same procedure I've used on some of my recent turnings, like the emerging goblet, that Chokecherry wing bowl, and that clock. I used this finish as well, and that's just using a few coats of this water-based wipe-on poly, scuffing up after each coat, and then I'll buff on some beeswax once the finish starts to build up on the surface. So let's see what this grain does with the finish. Ooh, it's pretty nice. I'm glad I took pretty much the whole tree. This finish will also help to stabilize some of that softer areas of the wood. Now I'm just going to wipe off the extra finish with a paper towel. I'll be looking for more dead birch at the cabin. I've got about 4 or 5 coats of the water-based white pond poly applied, and it's all cured up, so now I'm just going to top coat it up with a little bit of beeswax, just to give it that nice sheen and nice feel. I'm just going to use the parting tool followed up with the skew chisel to part this goblet off. RPM's going about 1200. Getting a pretty good wobble, so I'm going to start holding the stem already here. Here we go. Just got to clean up the bottom, sand and finish the bottom, and we'll be all done. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, please click the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and please let me know in the comments down below if you think I should include some more clips of any tree cutting or other adventures in my future videos. So thank you very much, and have yourself a great day.